2 years passes since the event and Jakai and his brother Savion started staying with George. Jakai eventually started his time at the academy making friends and enemies, but kept his focus on getting stronger. After 4 years in the academy, it's time for the last part of the graduation exams, 1v1 battles. You did it! Y'all should all be proud of yourselves for making it this far, the teacher said to the kids. This will be the final week of school, which means that all week there will be several tests to see if you qualify to becoming a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village, the teacher says. Final week, huh? Jakai says to himself. After class that day, when Jakai got home, George stopped him right before he could walk inside the house. Come with me, George says to Jakai. George took him to a secret waterfall. What are we doing here? Jakai says to George. Do you know how to perform the fireball jutsu? George says. Jakai replies by saying, no. George then goes on to teach Jakai the basics of the fireball jutsu. George and Jakai had become super tight over the years, and Jakai refers to George as Gramps. The next day at school, Jakai noticed that instead of it being all boys, there is now girls joining the class for the final week. Walking to his seat, he makes eye contact with this one girl. He ain't think nothing of it, and continued about his day. After the test on the first day, Jakai meets up with Ben and Mo, where he tells them that he's learning the fireball jutsu, but hasn't yet got the hang of it. Mo gets excited and wants to see the jutsu and begs Jakai to perform it outside. Jakai tries to say no, but Ro had listened into their conversations and mocked Mo, saying, Come on Jakai, please do it, before laughing. Jakai takes this as a challenge and goes outside to perform the jutsu. To his surprise, there was a lot of people already outside, including the girl from earlier, which whom gave him butterflies in his stomach after making eye contact with her again. The girl's eyes was unique, but he knows he's seen it before. In fact, he knows who has her same eyes. We don't have all day, Ro stressed to Jakai. Jakai attempted the jutsu, failing badly. Everyone laughed at him, but he didn't care about anyone else but the girl. Once he glanced to see if she seen what just happened, he noticed that she was smiling too. This time, when he looked at her, he put it all together. The girl was a Hyuga. Jakai felt embarrassed, but he was accompanied by Mo and Ben. Jakai decided to walk home by himself. On his way home, he heard a voice calling his name. The voice gave him shivers down his spine as it reminded him of his mother's voice. When he looked back, to his surprise, it was the Hyuga girl. She introduced herself to be Shelly. Shelly walked with Jakai all the way up into the Uchiha's front gate. He then tells Shelly that she isn't allowed inside. She already understands and told Jakai that she can't wait to see him at school the following day. Jakai and Shelly ended up becoming friends in a short period of time knowing each other, but that made Ro dislike him even more. It got to the point that Ro admitted of hating Jakai. A few days later, it was time for the final test, 1v1 battles. The night previous to that day, Jakai stayed up most of the night trying to finish learning how to perform the fireball jutsu, but ain't quite get it. I hope you're ready, the teacher says right before naming all the matchups. Jakai versus Moore. Ben versus Mage came before Jakai's fight. That fight was the best fight so far. It started off with Ben having the upper hand by having a longer wingspan and being taller than Mage, which made him connect on more hits. Mage noticed that Ben is not quick on his feet and only fights with his right arm, which Mage used to his advantage. After going back and forth both landing hits, Mage surprised the class by performing a jutsu that most of the students ain't know how to do. It was a water style jutsu which laid Ben on his back. After everything was assumed to be over with, Ben slowly starts to get back on his feet. He then says, I forgot how to lose. His eyes was different. It wasn't a Hyuga or Uchiha's eyes. Something nobody recognizes, but from the look of the teacher, Jakai knew it was something serious. Ben had a speed boost and launched himself at Mage, sending him flying. He then repeatedly punched Mage. Mage's nose started leaking, and blood started coming out his mouth. The teacher swoops in to stop the fight, but right before he does, Mage finally blocked one of the punches and threw a haymaker at Ben, knocking him to his knees. The match was still called over by the teacher, declaring it as a draw. The class was silent after the fight, and everyone was shocked. Mage and Ben both left to get checked on. Then the test continues. Matches went by before Jakai's match, where we seen another Hyuga girl named Dara take on a girl named Traz. Shelly wins her match against a girl named Mia. Ro, Mo, and Peter goes on to win their matches as well. Next up, Jakai and more. Finally, my time to fight, Jakai says to himself. Fight! The teacher says, and next thing you know, Jakai was on his back. What the hell just happened? Everyone laughs at him. He looks up and sees that Moore hasn't even moved yet. Jakai then gets up and rushed Moore. Moore was way bigger than Jakai, so his hits felt like a truck. With just one good punch to the face, Jakai was back on the ground and was already bleeding. Moore picks him up and then tosses him, but Jakai lands on his feet. He looks around and makes eye contact with Shelly before saying to himself, "It's now or never." He takes a deep breath. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Big flames came roaring out of his mouth. It was huge. Most kids on the sideline had to move back to avoid the flames. Jakai was bombarded by several proctors, stopping the jutsu, calling the match a victory for Jakai. Moore was on his back in critical condition. "Get a doctor, he's not breathing," the teacher says.